Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? I am you.
Lisa, you're not on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show, Haunting the Afterlife Radio. I am your host, Susie, and with me are my fellow fabulous hosts, Brian and Lisa. How are both of you?
Good. How's everyone else doing?
I am doing great.
I'm still not feeling too good, and I want to let you guys know I do have a pretty bad cold, so I'm gonna try to mute every time I feel like sniffing or sneezing or whatever. I'll try my best. So, anyways, but other than that, I'm doing great, and I'm really excited for tonight's show. Who is ready to revisit Haunted Australia? Tonight, we are proud to present
Yay!
we are proud to present the fabulous Allison Oborn, paranormal investigator, author of Ghosts of the Past, and tour operator of Adelaide's Haunted Horizons Ghost Tours. She will be presenting extraordinary evidence from her most terrifying locations. So turn down your lights, hold on to something dear, and get ready to be creepily amazed. But before we introduce our lovely guest, I want to tell you guys, please try and remember to put your questions in caps in the chat. And also, we will, as always, take a 5-minute break at the top of the first hour. And that's about it. Without further delay, I want to introduce Allison. How are you, Allison?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm hanging in there.
Yes, you sound better.
Thanks for allergy medicine and cold medicine, right?
Yeah, works wonders.
So I guess we'll just get started with you just telling everyone a little bit about like how you got started in the paranormal and a little bit about yourself and stuff like that.
Well, like a lot of people, it started right back in childhood. So I was born into a haunted house, literally, and that terrified me for years. And I kind of went into investigating almost to disprove, if you like. I wasn't just looking for the paranormal, I was looking for rational explanations. And it's just been like a lot of people, it's just been a lifelong interest. And I still haven't found those rational explanations yet. So,
So you said you lived in a haunted house. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
yeah. Look, it was a house that was in England, in a place, in a city called Newcastle upon Tyne. And the previous owner had passed away. He'd been either, we weren't sure whether he just had a accident from getting too drunk on a New Year's Eve and fallen over a wall because he had head injuries, or whether he'd been mugged. But he did pass away, and his wife couldn't live there anymore. She said whenever she went upstairs, she would feel arms around her, and she just couldn't cope with that. So she sold it to my parents. I was coming along, obviously. I was about to be born. And even then, they were having weird things happening because they went off on their honeymoon, and my grandparents tried to repaint the house. And every time they went into the house, It would be, the pots of paint would be all over the room. The lids would be off. The knife, the palette knife and stuff like that that open the lids, it would be strewn all over the room as if something wasn't happy with what they were doing to the changes. My earliest childhood memory would be heavy, raspy male breathing in my bedroom when there was nobody there, and me screaming and crying. Wind up Daleks. Doctor Who used to have, in my day, going back a long time, we used to have the wind up, the wind up Daleks for toys. I used to sneak into my brother's bedroom because he had those and they were always fun. He had the best toys. And I remember being in there and they were, two Daleks that were wind up just started going off across the room on their own. So yeah, I was terrified, absolutely terrified of that house. My sisters were seeing disembodied eyes in the corner of the room and they would come across the room. And the kids were terrified of the house, absolutely terrified of it. So, but parents didn't mind. My mum was the only one that actually physically saw him when she woke up one night and saw him standing over the bed. So, and she got a good look at him. She said the eyes were protruding. There's always a thing about the eyes.
Oh, that gave me chills.
Yeah, this is the thing. She went next door and she asked the neighbour if anything had happened, if the neighbour had ever heard of anything like this. And when my mum described it, the neighbour said, that's the old owner. And she produced a photograph and he had protruding eyes. There's a disease you can get where your eyes will start to protrude. It's just not in my head at the moment. And he had that. So the eyes were a big thing. So,
wow.
So that was my earliest memories. Terrified the life out of me.
Oh, wow. And you still went into it.
I was terrified. When I first met my husband, I was still sleeping with my lights on in my bedroom in my 20s. I couldn't sleep without having a light on. I was that terrified. But the more you do this, the more you get drawn like a moth to the flame to the paranormal, and the more you start researching it and going into these places, you realize it's not like Hollywood, and you start to lose that fear and it becomes excitement. So you realize it's not going to happen all the time. So it's been an interesting journey. So that's where I started.
And so you're an author and you also have a paranormal team, right?
Yeah, I've got a paranormal research team, paranormal field investigators, and also my tourism side, which is Adelaide Haunted Horizons. So
how did you get the team started?
Like everybody, saying that, it's been a lifelong thing, dabbling, even with EVP right back. There was a thing of books called The Unexplained that came out when I was a teenager, saying how old I am at the moment, but it was a long, long time ago. And it was all talking about electronic voice phenomena. So in those days, all we had was reel-to-reel tape, again, showing my age. So I would experiment with that form of it. So it's always been an experiment and learning and reading and following it all my life. And then obviously cutting my teeth in teens when I came to Australia. And finally, 2002, I set up my own team because the other teams, nothing wrong with them. They just weren't going in the direction that I wanted to go in. So I set my own team up in 2002 and it went from there. So
2002. Awesome.
For my official team, yeah. So.
And how did you started writing about the paranormal?
I think we've all got a book in us. We've all got a story to tell. And what happened was in 2002, we fell upon the Adelaide jail. So we just started the team and we approached the government who owned the old Adelaide jail because they weren't taking much interest in it. Right time, right place. They gave it to us to investigate. We were there for about 10 years. And that in itself was an interesting journey. And we had so much happen. We kept all these reports and it was just ideal to put into a book. Everybody kept pestering me. Can you put it into a book? Can you tell us? And it was a good way of sharing this stuff as well. You can't put so many reports up over and over again online, but on a book you can pretty outline better what we had happen in that 10 years. So how we came about.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It was before I ran a business. I used to get up at 5:30 in the morning to write that. It was my creative time. Nowadays, I don't get so much time to do that, unfortunately.
Well, I am very, very excited to read your book. So, like I said before, I wish I would have known that you were an author, and then I would have read your book before the show, so then we could have talked about it. But you know what? That's okay because we have a lot to talk about, anyways, with all of the footage that you've sent us. So, what kind of questions do you have, Bry or Lisa?
I like some of the locations that you've been to. This, the jail. I love the architect structure of the building. It is just absolutely gorgeous. And I saw a couple of the video that you sent, and I really can't wait to get to that. That was spectacular. Um, when you first started going into the jail and everything, how did you start advertising it and opening it up to the public to come on tours and stuff?
Well, we weren't doing tours when we first went in. Tours were a thing of the future. When we first went in, it was purely as a paranormal team. So we went in 2002. We'd already done 2 years of investigation there when the jail itself asked us if we would help do their ghost tours, because based on our research, not based on, fanciful stuff, we do it very differently. So we developed theirs and then got into the tours in 2004. Not a lot of people knew about the jail back then because it wasn't heavily marketed unless the media got hold of us for the investigation side. So yeah, it's just been a long 10 years, I guess, well, 16 years I've been there now, of promoting the jail, getting the public interested in it. And now, it's seen as one of the most haunted places in Adelaide. So a lot of people have come along. We opened it up to the public. They get to experience it. And yeah.
So, how many spirits are actually in the jail that you know of?
I always hate that question. How many spirits? It's like you line them up and count them. And it's like, well, you can never give a quantify. You might have something that comes in that's totally different on the night. It might not. Sometimes we find it's nothing to do with the jail. Sometimes people on the tours can actually bring something with them as well. The amount of times my tours have turned personal is, yeah, and you just stand back and let it ride. That we know of, that I've encountered a lady that is very mysterious. We don't know who she is because she doesn't fit in the description of the only lady we ever hanged in the Adelaide jail. There's a guard there. That's what brought us in, because daytime sightings of this guard in one of the buildings there. That's what we heard, and we went in. So definitely two. We've had some responses from a couple of the executed prisoners there, and another one from a prisoner in the later days that actually was murdered in a different jail, but his name keeps coming through, so don't know on that one. So yeah, to say how many, it's a hard one to count them all. Just whatever we get on the night, we get on the night. We try not to influence what we're getting, so that we try not to influence the people who are there too much.
Okay.
A few of them, a number of them.
Well, I'm sure they know about it being the most haunted jail there in Adelaide, and
Yeah.
and they're coming there for that, and hoping that they experience something. I can't say catch some. I can't say catch something because we never catch anything.
No.
So they experience things.
Yeah. And we do make it very clear. We do keep the tours very real. I mean, this is why the awards and everything else, we do it very differently. If they have absolutely nothing happen on the night, guess what? That's the reality of it. But at least they've had a good time trying. They've enjoyed the history of a very special location. And occasionally we'll get lucky. And there's a couple of things that even take I have to have big things, by the way, for me to go, can't explain that. But sometimes you do get lucky, and sometimes I walk away going, what the it just happened. So yeah, we do it in a very rational way. So we try and keep them thinking about what it could be first before they jump to what it actually, that paranormal conclusion.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, trying to go in and debunk something before
Yeah.
jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. So what you're
So,
left with is far more important if you can't.
Yeah. Sorry,
so
I've got a gray on me right now.
there's a cat climbing on Brian's shoulder and back. So do they come with their own equipment on the tours, or do you
No.
provide that, or?
Yeah, I've invested about $30,000 in equipment for because they, and I'm not saying that I like all the equipment, but people who come on the tours, they want to try it. And rather than them spend all this money on this expensive equipment that they haven't tried yet, it gives them the opportunity to come and try it out first and decide whether they like it before they go and spend all this money. Is it effective? Are they finding a use for it? Because people are just going out and spending all this money and not really knowing what they're buying. So it gives, we take that off their off their budget. They can come and try it all out and go from there. So if it's out there, generally we'll go out and buy it for the business so people can use it.
So,
Oh yeah, I did actually see a photo of a box that you got from, I would just say one of your vendors that had quite a bit of equipment in it.
Yeah, and that's not all of it. There's a heap that sits at home. We do the special tours where we bring out the big guns like thermal and SLS camera and stuff like that, and that goes down on the bigger tours. But generally, in the box, it's got pretty much everything that they'll want to use. So, and then they make up their own minds. We don't say whether we like it or not. We just show them how to use it, give them the pros and cons of what can set it off in a natural way, and then it's up to them to see whether they like it or not.
that's awesome. What do you personally like to use as far as equipment goes, though?
For me, still it goes back to good old audio recorders.
Mhm.
But in monitoring the whole environment at the same time and running a video camera at the same time as we do the experiments, because just to double check in case we have taken a breath, whether we have moved. I don't know. I still come back to the old ways, really. That would be my favorite audio.
That's my
DVD.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you can buy all these bells and whistles, and people expect to see it on the tours, but at the end of the day, I would just sit quietly. If it was me, monitor the environment and just run audio, and it's just But it's not me. When you're on a tour, people want to be seeing flashing lights.
Yeah, audio is my favorite too, and then also paying attention to like my body, kind of using that as like a tool as well. So and then also cameras and video. I do always have to have somebody taking pictures or somebody doing video, even if it's just a live video. But how do you feel? I'm going to ask this for Brian. How do you feel about the SB7 or the SB11 or those kind of devices?
Brian, you will read. I don't use the SP7s. I actually do on the tours use the old Hack Shacks, which I think you've got. I sent you a couple of snippets of that. I used to be the biggest skeptic. In fact, that book you're getting, Ghosts of the Past, there is a chapter in there that you'll read, and you'll almost read that I'm cringing, absolutely cringing writing it, because it went against every bone of rationality that I could think of. My teammate came to me with it one day, years and years ago. Can we use this? And I just looked at him and said, why? It's a broken radio that's throwing out snippets of radio. Why on earth would we want to use it? Just by the manner of what's coming out of it. It's like that game. You ask a question and you wait to hear that kind of response on it. I was tried it for the first time at the jail. He said, no, 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 let me try it. We were scanning for the first time. This is in the first 10 minutes of using it. We were scanning in the alleyway of the jail. And I'm like standing with my arms crossed, doing that, yeah, really, what, be for real, like look. And he was really nervous because he could see I wasn't impressed. And I'll kid you not, he asked, can you convince Alison by saying her name? The scanner, you know how the scanner on the old hack shacks tend to go that click, 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 click as it went through. The scanning stopped. That click, 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 click stopped. A really weird voice came out of it that said Alison, like that, and then the scanning continued. And I just stood there just going, nah, nah.
That is so
Coincidence.
awesome. Brian.
Brian, I'm with Brian because every bone in my body goes no. But I had to, I don't know. It has to be big things. And Brian's got a snip that hopefully he'll play later where it says that teammate's name, which I'll tell the story around. It has to be something that is unusual. It has to be something that is harder to explain. But I think to dismiss anything in this field when we don't know what we're dealing with or how it can interact, I think, I don't know. It's a question because I've got two parts of me. One's a skeptic on it, and the other one I've just had some weird stuff come out of it where I've gone, nah. I don't know. It's a fight. It's constantly, I'm with you, Brian. It's a constant it's an inner battle for me on that one.
I spent 25 years in the military, and I spent that working on radios. So I know about scanning the frequencies, and I know that all the frequencies are terrestrial. There are frequencies out there that we're going to pick up on that have audio or some intelligence on them. And that comes through in snippets. And then the mind plays trick with us and starts putting those little snippets together, and you get whatever your mind thinks it is, just like looking at pictures and seeing faces.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's my skeptic side of it. And I told Susie that I will believe it one of these days when it actually says, hello, Brian. And then I will become a believer.
And that's the way it should be. And this is the fun thing about having discussions. I always say you should be skeptical of everything until you have evidence otherwise. And it's everything. As I say, I'm with you, Brian. This whole planet is bouncing and bombarded with radio frequencies and radio that we can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
And the radio obviously translates that and picks up. It's why if I do get something, I want it to be jaw-dropping for me, where I go, that was huge coincidence. And even then, I won't put my head out and say that was a ghost talking, because of the nature of what is coming. It was a curious response and very curiously timed, but was it a ghost? We'll never be able to prove that. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's just have fun with it and see what you get. So
yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
I think that's the biggest thing is if you don't have fun doing this type of stuff, then why do it? I mean, our lives are so short to begin with. And in a split second, everything can be over with. So why not enjoy yourself and spread that joy to other people and do like you're doing and taking them on these tours and letting them experience for themselves.
Yeah, and that's what's about. I did 30 years in the research field, and I used to be, I used to be one of those, oh, that's bullshit. It's like you shouldn't be doing that, and you've got to do it properly, and oh, that's rubbish. And I think over the years I've mellowed and realised really, people have been trying for 100 or so years to try and prove this stuff exists, and there's no definitive proof yet, and I don't know if we ever will. So why not just enjoy? You enjoy your own experience if you get one. Rationalize it, question it, but then just enjoy it. Enjoy yourself. Have fun with this stuff. It's a mystery. We all love a good mystery, and it's fun exploring it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like that, and you do get to walk away with some stories that you can tell and everything. And one of my biggest ones is one location. Every time I went there, I always had a rock thrown at me.
Oh.
And I'm outside, clear sky, and I'm sitting probably, what was it, about 15 feet away from the house. And I wound up getting a piece of window caulking sitting on a flap of my BDU pants. There is no way that a piece of caulk would have just materialized there. And I did actually feel it hit me in the back, and it landed on my pocket.
And your voice and your face, I'm so glad that I actually clipped that and saved it, because it is so funny. He was so surprised. He's like, I just had a rock thrown at me. This was like what it was pretty much our first year investigating.
I think it was actually our first time at this location.
Excellent.
That was my favorite location, but Brian, man, he did not like it. He would still go though. He would still go because he wanted to make sure and protect the team and have everybody's back. But man, I was like, guess where we're going tonight, Brian? Oh no. And he would like rarely go in there. Most of the time he would just stand outside and be watchful. But the one time he went in there, he was actually tripped up.
Oh,
So
okay.
poor
Yeah.
Brian.
Well, somebody has to stay outside and watch your back. So there you go. You had an important role there.
And explain to the cops why everybody's there and wearing masks.
We're not doing a drug deal.
Oh, we looked hilarious. A cop did show up, and he was kind of disturbed when he saw us all coming out of this house wearing masks and gloves, because it was an abandoned, very vandalized, house, and there was debris everywhere, glass and just nasty stuff. So that's why we had the gloves and the mask. Like, could you imagine the look on the cop's face when we were all coming out of the house? It was like 2 a.m. or something.
It would be hard to explain.
Well, we told him we were paranormal investigators, and his eyes just got even bigger. Like, oh, okay, I think I'm gonna leave now. You guys have fun doing your thing. But that's another thing too. You got to deal with officers and wildlife. So yeah, it does get very exciting sometimes, but I'll never forget that. But thanks for being there, Brian.
Yep.
But anyways, so how do you feel about using apps and stuff like that, like personally, not when you're doing the tours, but when you're investigating, like, how do you feel? Because I've noticed over about the past year, maybe longer, they're becoming even more and more and more popular.
Because they're cheap and accessible. Personally, I don't use them. I don't encourage. In fact, if somebody comes with an app, I generally tell them to turn it off. A, their phone's going to affect all the equipment anyway, and B, apps they're programmed. A programmer has to make an app, and so for me, until I can find an app that could prove that it was actually doing what it states, I tend to steer away from apps. So, and on the tours as well.
I had a friend who was using an app. I can't remember the name of it, but it was kind of like a spirit box app.
Yeah.
And it said her first and last name 2 times.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't know, like, they are programmed, and there is kind of some skepticism that says that they actually are programmed to pick up on things that people are saying.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
Well, my son is a programmer, not for apps and stuff, but things can be programmed. There's a lot of clever type of things that can be programmed. I don't know. I can't say it is. I can't say it isn't because I haven't looked deeply into how it is programmed and everything else. Just for me, if it was an EMF reader, why would electricians pay all this money for a EMF meter when they could just put an app on the phone? To me, I'd rather stay with the traditional equipment that we know does not the job of looking for ghosts, obviously, because that's debatable, but for the job of what it's designed to do, like, as I said, electricians with EMF. And so rather than depend on an app that would be unreliable. Until I have proof that those apps could do it, we have all that on the tours, so they don't need the app. We've got the Ovilus, we've got everything they need. So we try and discourage them actually using the apps. I said, big thing. If you're using your phone, that's going to set all those meters off. So why would you want to use your phone? So
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. All right. Well, I think, do we want to start with the footage and evidence because we've got so much of it? Or do we want to wait a little bit longer?
Oh, we can wait a little bit longer. We can talk about some of her awards that she has won.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have time to get all of her stuff in. So yeah, let's talk about the awards. Take it away, Bri.
Okay, well, I'm putting them up right now. Well, one of them.
I want to really quick, while you're doing that, Bri, I want to welcome all of our listeners, chatters. How's everyone doing tonight? Feel free to chime in with some questions for Allison.
Okay. All the pictures are kind of wonky. They don't show what the awards are for. The first one is Beyond Blue, grateful acknowledges support and contribution to Adelaide Haunted Horizons Open Recovery.
yeah, that's a charity here that deals with anxiety and depression and suicide. So when we got the asylum that we do, we decided that we would support Beyond Blue because it was fitting. So we do donate $1 to $2 from every ticket that we sell wherever we do a tour or an event. Of our own profits, we actually donate it to Beyond Blue. So we've raised about 8,000 for them so far. So yeah, it's one that's very close to my heart because in all honesty, yeah, I used to suffer from anxiety as well. Business will do that when you're a small business. So it was kind of close to my heart. And I've also known a few people or a couple of people who have sadly let it get the better of them. So we do donate to charity as well at the profits.
That is so awesome. I have to commend you for that because, there's this conversation that's been going on for a while about where does the money go, with these tours. So sometimes people will say that the money goes back to the location for preservation, restoration. And some people talk about charity. So I just think that that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a tourism business is a business and it's there to make money, obviously, because that's your business. And people shouldn't be embarrassed about that because the amount of time, the amount of energy that goes into running a small family business, and you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you probably don't get to bed till 2 o'clock at night, and it's 24/7 on a business and running it. And there's a lot of costs behind the scenes to run a business professionally. And at the end of the day, you still need to make a wage. So yeah, at the end of the day, people just see, oh, you make all this money and it goes into wherever you pocket. It's a business. It's a proper tourism business on that side of it. It's going to make. I wished it made more, but it's like, but it gets me through, and it gets me to America and England every year. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, if we can help charities, I mean, that wasn't the only charity. We actually donated 6,000 to our local CFS, which is our fire brigade. That, like your wildfires in LA, we get them here, so they fight those. We've just donated $20,000 of medical equipment for overseas to save lives
Oh my
for our
gosh.
Rotary here. That was just been done. So yeah, if we can give back, and the tours have allowed us to do that. I couldn't do that out of my pocket if we weren't running these tours. So we like to give back.
I think it's really important because there are so many people out there who are skeptical of the paranormal community. And so them seeing us doing that, I think, makes a big difference in how, you know, we're not just a bunch of wackadoodles, right?
Are we? Are you sure? I always thought I was.
Well,
I'm disappointed.
I think what's happened is you've had those teams out there or those individuals out there that were basically charlatans and scamming people out of their money to help them. Just like the snake oil salesman and stuff. And I think that has given folks in the paranormal community sort of a bad light because instead of judging people for who they are and each team as who they look as us as a big conglomerate and go, okay, well, this is a bad apple, so they must all be bad.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see people take that approach, but I, it's human nature.
I mean, I've had to fight when I first started doing Haunted Horizons, which is my own personal, obviously, tourism side of it. I had to fight through the stigma of how people perceived ghost tours. And I'm not just talking about the paranormal community; it was the venues and tourism industry and things like that. So it's been a long uphill battle to say that no, you can do this, you can do it ethically, and you can do it very differently to what they're expecting. And it's kind of been a 10 years of building that up. And I think I've managed to get, in Adelaide anyway, managed to break through that stigma. You still get it, but it's now you've got the pedigree of the awards. It makes it a lot easier that you are actually doing it professionally and properly, and it's a lot of hard work to do.
And I'm really impressed with some of the awards that you've got. I just had one up from the LGT, and now I've got the 2018 South Australian Tourism Award finalist.
Yeah, we actually won. Did we win that? No, we came second. It was the 3 years before that we won it. We actually are the very first ghost tour ever to enter the Hall of Fame for the tourism industry. So the fact we won it 3 years in a row. And then cultural, we won on that one. We came second in cultural, second only to the South Australian Museum here. They're the only people. Wow. And that's out of all the people who went in for cultural. So for a ghost tour, a mere little ghost tour, we're so proud because for a mere little ghost tour to come second to the big, huge South Australian Museum, it was just, an honour for that one. So we do history as well. We're not just ghost. We are very much into heritage and history. So
that is so amazing. I want to do it.
You've got to get over here.
Oh my gosh, that would be such a dream. Lisa, we need to do it. Lisa's on mute, guys, because her kids are being a little bit loud. But feel free to chime in, Lisa, when you can. But yeah, I mean, that would be such a dream. I mean, even just to be hired as a tour guide, would be amazing. Like we have Virginia City literally like 20 minutes away from me, and which is pretty much like the most quote unquote haunted town in probably the country, pretty much. And everybody talks about Virginia City. And I applied for a job a few years ago. They were hiring for a tour guide in one of their most haunted hotels there. And I didn't get it.
Oh.
But I just think that would be so much fun. Oh my
Best
God.
job in the world.
Like, how do you go about getting started, like, with doing that and making it your own business?
I'd already, I mean, first for us, I mean, you'd have to have that one foot in the tourism industry. And I was lucky that the Adelaide Jail asked us to develop their tours and asked us to guide those tours back in 2004. So I guess I'd already, by the time I set up Haunted Horizons, I'd already had those 6 years in the tourism field as a tour guide. So it helped when I decided, well, I could be doing this for myself because there's other places. Because people kept asking, do you do them anywhere else? In those days, there wasn't any other ghost tours in Adelaide. So that's where Haunted Horizons started. And we knew we had other good venues that we'd been investigating as an investigation team that would be just as good to take people through an experience. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. So I'd already had that experience, I guess, in both fields, both paranormal investigation and in tourism. So I was lucky in that respect that I could bring them both together. And it's been growing since then.
So jelly. So jealous.
best job in the world, I must admit. I love it. Never lose the passion for it.
Especially if you just love the history and learning about the history.
And as I say, how do you get history to a younger generation that really isn't interested? Because we are losing a lot of our heritage buildings because it's old, it's mouldy, and they don't want to be going into museums anymore. So it's why we took up dark tourism as well, because if you can get them into these places with the executions of the Adelaide Jail and the ghosts, once you've got them there, they tend to look at it a bit differently, and they tend to start taking an interest in these heritage buildings, and it becomes harder for people to knock them down if there's going to be an outcry. So, and I guess also the pride in me is when people go away and say, I encouraged them to go and look up their history a bit more. So, and I know my job starts then. You know, the amount of times I said, oh yeah, we went home and we found this, this and this, because they went home to start looking into history. And it's like, good on you. You know, the more you get into it, the more you'll find it more interesting. History doesn't have to be boring, but you've got to get them there to appreciate it. So
I know when I was stationed in England for 3 years, and I have always been very interested in the medieval times, the Dark Ages and stuff. So I would go out and visit these castles and um, read all the King Arthur, the Arthurian books and stuff, and um, ran into a place in London called the London Dungeon. And it was supposedly all the medieval torture devices back then and stuff. And I went, oh my God, these people were so brutal.
Oh yeah.
And then I started learning more about all the weaponry and the siege weapons and stuff. And it was actually quite interesting, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, we find I mean, dark tourism isn't new, which I guess I am dark tourism because we do the dark history tours as well. And we talk about history of executions. We look at some of the executed prisoners, who they were and what the crimes were. And they're the most popular. And people think it's new that we've just invented this over the last few last few generations. Dark tourism goes way back when they went to real executions, like in England and Europe, you would have thousands. 33,000 people turned up for one in the 1800s in England. So, including a tourism operator, we have a tourism group here called Thomas Cook, who actually started in the 1800s by taking money and taking people to public executions. That was his tours. So dark tourism
Wow.
goes back a long way. It's not new. We just don't obviously go to executions now. We just talk about it. But
That's so
somewhere,
funny.
somewhere in Seoul.
That's so funny. We're talking about this right now because I've been watching that reality TV show. I think it's called Dark Tours or Tourists or something like that. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I think I've seen it come up on Netflix. I've got to watch it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
that's actually where I watched it. It was
Yeah.
on Netflix.
It is so fascinating. So this guy, he's from New Zealand, I believe, and he just goes to all these different countries and checks out all these crazy stuff. Like the one I was watching yesterday, he went to what's it called? Wisconsin, and they actually do tours on Jeffrey Dahmer and make a huge big deal out of Jeffrey Dahmer. And so they take you to, of course, his apartment where he lived, and they take you to his like local hangouts where he kidnapped these guys and all this other stuff. And oh my God, do they make money off of that?
Yeah, I have an ethical line. We had a lot of serial killers here in the 70s and 80s as well. And one of them, Snowtown, which involves the barrels. It's quite a famous one here. I have an ethical problem with going beyond a certain time because to me, if you do something that's more modern, you're just glorifying it. You're not learning anything from it history-wise. So I tend to have a cut-off period on my dark history tours when I'm talking about this sort of stuff, usually generally around about the 50s. I won't go beyond that. So I want to keep it history. I want to learn a bit about society through what we're talking about with these deaths and tragedies. I don't want to just be glorifying it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, saying that, I'd love to go on it, but I wouldn't want to be running it, put it that way, just for my own peace of mind. That's just me. I just can't ethically do anything that's modern. There's still relatives that are alive that are hurting, and
you bring up some really important points there. And I mean, I would probably go on it too, but what's really crazy is he interviewed a lot of people who were signed up for the tour, the Jeffrey Dahmer tour. There are so many people who like love him.
It's weird, isn't it? How people become attached to these serial killers. It's see them as heroes. It's just unsettling. I find it.
That was, we actually had a kind of a roundtable show, and one of the questions that I brought up was, when does an investigator cross the line? How soon after a death is it okay to do an investigation?
Yes.
And that goes back to back when the Constantines, when they tragically died and everything, and an investigating team went out and crossed the police tape and wanted to contact them. When is it too soon?
Yeah, to me, that I couldn't. I just couldn't. I have been asked when I do go back to England. I have been asked to go and look for the missing children on the moors. Don't know if you remember. What do you call it? Myra Hindley, and they were killing children back in the 60s, 70s, whatever. Now there's still some of the children missing, and they were buried out on the moors in England. And people have said, oh, well, do you want to come out and look for that? It's like, no, I don't. I really, really don't. I think for me, that's too soon. I think there's too many people hurting, and you don't want to be going out there and offending relatives and stuff like that. If something comes through, like we've just done, I won't say where, but we've just done a hospital. Predominantly, we were after the grey nurse that all hospitals talk about, and so did this one. I can't stop something more modern from coming through.
Yeah.
If something, that's different. If something modern wants to come through, then I have no control over that. But I won't actively go out looking for it. So, and it's just, I can see why, but it would be out of their own curiosity. And I think, yeah, for me, I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. And it's just
Yeah.
something I know how I would feel as a relative having lost, to have ghost hunters or people tramping all over trying to, yeah, get evidence. I don't know. That's me. We're all different. That's just, I couldn't.
Well,
So.
I myself would not go and do something like that unless it was a relative that asked me to do it.
Yes, that is different. That is very different. Yeah, I'm talking about just going out there though for your own
Right.
curiosity
Yeah.
and your own entertainment is what. Yeah, I
Yeah.
decide that I would be looking at it. If a relative that asks, then yes. If you're able to help and they want you to come and try and help, that's different, like you said. But I wouldn't actively go out to places like the moors looking for these children unless a relative wanted me to go out there. And these were just people who want to go out and just look for it. So.
And then also, like when we were doing that roundtable show, Brian Jarrett was with us. He brought up a really important point too, is that we could be, if we're doing it too soon, or just for our own curiosity, reaching out to even like our own loved ones who have just crossed over. How are we affecting their afterlife journey?
Right.
Trying to communicate with them too soon, he said. Remember, he said it like if you do it too soon, you could affect like their journey.
Right.
And we were talking about that because my dad recently passed, about a month and a half ago now. And I was asking Jared, should I try and communicate with him? And he said, only if he tries to communicate with you first. So, or you could kind of mess with his afterlife journey. So I thought that was really interesting as well.
I'm pretty much the same as I don't know about it affecting the afterlife journey because I don't know how it works, to be honest. I don't know what we're dealing with, never mind how it works. But I'm also a big believer that if they want to reach out, they will. Like when my father passed away, I never, even though I've got all this equipment, and I never once have tried to contact him. And I always think, well, if he wants to contact me, he'll find a way and he'll kind of make it known. So I've had a couple of things happen, but I haven't actively gone out looking for him. I've just left it to him.
Yeah, same with me. After my dad passed, in fact, the exact day he passed away, he did reach out to me. And he has reached out to me a few times, and it's always when I go to my mom's house. But I haven't tried to like actively contact him. So I don't know why. But I just kind of feel like, he'll if he needs to contact me, he will. And so I'm happy with what he has done. So it's been pretty amazing.
And same with me. Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to let you know. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Let's see. So we've got Ursula Powers in there. And we also have Tasmania's Most Haunted, who says hi. I was going to say, wonder who that is. Charmaine was recently on our show. Very awesome lady.
I will be down there in 2 weeks. So
take lots of pics. But who else do we have in chat? Say hi, ask any questions.
We got U.S. Paranormal Research, Andy from their team.
Hi, Andy. How are you? just wanted to make sure that we greet some of our new peeps in the chat. So we're almost at the top of the hour. It's almost break time. We still have like 5 minutes left or whatever, but so I think we'll just put off the footage that we have until after break then, and just keep talking for the next.
I looking at some of the pictures, I'm putting up the pictures now and everything of some of these locations, and I don't know what I would actually be more interested in looking at, the location or all the stars that you could see.
How do
I
you
mean,
do those photos, Allison?
some of those pictures, they're like, oh my God, you can reach out and touch the stars. Um, I'm also into. I've got a telescope. I want to get into ufology. I want to broaden my horizons and learn as much as I can about a little bit of everything. Uh, but yeah, some of those pictures, the skies are just absolutely amazing.
So,
Yeah,
Allison, you take those pictures, right?
I do all my own photography. So
You do everything. You're just amazing at everything. You're an amazing photographer.
when you're running a business, you try to learn very quickly to keep the cost down. So I've learned very quickly how to do photographs. I take terrible daytime photos, but I love astrophotography, which is obviously when you get the stars and everything else. So I learned very quickly to do that. You also notice from some of the photographs, I like to actually put myself in photos. I saw one come up earlier, 2 or 3 times, if not 4 or 5 times, as a ghost.
Oh yes, I actually saw that a few times.
Love playing and doing that. That's not Photoshop. That is actually through the camera doing a photograph. So it's just long
Wow.
exposure, moving around, and it's just so much fun to play with long exposure. So
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you photoshopping some of these?
no,
I mean, not that
none of
that would be bad, but
no, that's what you can achieve with a camera, with an SLR camera, and with a long exposure. So yeah.
it's just beautiful. Like when I was putting your promo video together, I was having a hard time figuring out which pictures I wanted to put in because there were so many.
I love photos.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah, I will just put this out there right now. These photos are just a smidgen, just a drop in the bucket. If you want to go out and see some amazing photos, go out to Allison's Facebook site for Adelaide's Haunted Horizons and even her book. There are some amazing photographs out there,
I'm
and
gonna
lots of historic buildings.
I'm gonna go ahead and put those links for her in chat again. I did at the beginning of the show, and I'll put them back so you guys can go and check out all of her amazing stuff.
I'm in love with the gel building due to the fact that the mosaic that it has at midline is just absolutely amazing. I took architectural drafting when I was in high school, and I'm just so enthralled on how they did these arches and the mosaics and stuff. And these buildings were built back hundreds of years ago.
yeah, the one you're looking at the moment, which I'm just looking at, that's Z Ward. That's our asylum for the criminally insane. So
And that's one of your favorites, right? That's one
that is my favorite. But the architecture is amazing, absolutely amazing on that building. So yeah, we seem to have lost that art, haven't we, on how we used to build those old buildings. Now it's all prefab, stick them up quickly.
Yeah.
And it's, and we're losing a lot of this, and this is why we need to engage our younger generation in what they're losing.
And here's a picture further back as soon as it loads onto the stream.
Yep, beautiful building.
Well, while we're waiting for that, I want to quickly touch on something really quick. I forgot to announce that you also have a show, correct?
Yes, we do.
I put the link in there. It's called Twilight Hour, right?
Oh, that one. Yes, I'm trying to think. 'Cause I've got a podcast starting as well. So I'm trying to think
Oh,
which one. Isn't it all? I'm trying thinking which
What?
one are you talking about?
Which one are you talking
how
about?
do you do all this
It's
stuff?
like, is it this one? Is it that one?
Well,
Yeah,
the
looking at.
Twilight Hour one, I just put the link for that in the chat as well. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, so you just do so much stuff. That's
that
crazy.
one's on one of our big Adelaide radio shows here. So yeah, we do that one.
So, well, we'll go ahead and talk about that before we're done with the show because we got to go to break in 2 minutes.
Yep. And here's Adelaide Haunted Horizons Ghost Tours Facebook page and the link. So for those that want to take a look at it, go out, like it, follow it, share it amongst other paranormal groups and everything. There's some amazing, amazing photos there.
And none of them have a ghost. Yeah, we do live feeds on there, so quite often we'll go on, especially when I'm traveling in America or England, which we do every year, and go and investigate. We'll do live investigations on that page, and we don't give much warning either because it's usually ad lib. So
Right, and
it's like suddenly I'll
that's the
decide
best way to do it.
yeah, suddenly decide to go live. So it's we do that for those people who can't get to the tours.
And sometimes you just have to do it if you find out that you got a signal and everything. And let's get out there and do it
And
before the
that's the
signal
hard
goes
part.
away.
Yes, that dominates whether you get a signal or not.
All right, everyone. Well, it's the top of the hour, so we should probably go on our little 5 minute break. So don't go away. We'll be right back in 5 minutes. Go grab some coffee or whatever, some wine, whatever. We'll see you soon.
Okay, we're good.
All right, welcome back everybody to our show, Haunting the Afterlife Radio. We are talking with the amazing Alison Oborn and revisiting Australia, haunted Australia. So we spent the last hour talking a little bit about her, getting to know her, and now we're going to start listening and viewing some of the evidence that she presented to us. So the first we have is audio. So you might want to grab some headphones really quick. And we're going to have Allison talk a little bit about the first audio clip before we play it.
All right, so there is a bit of a story behind this one, and it's a cemetery. I don't like to say where cemeteries are because I obviously like to protect. We get a lot of vandalism over here, so we tend to hide the names a little bit. But this is a well-known one to Adelaide, and it's a little bit different because there used to be a girls' reformatory there, and back at the 1800s, early 1900s, and it was said that one of the priests there was abusing the girls and was cruel. And he did die up there. I mean, he did. There is fact he did have a mental health problem. He was either bipolar or schizophrenic when you look back on it, and the church didn't protect the girls. But he wasn't murdering them like urban legend is saying. He is buried in the cemetery. So we went up as a team, and half the team was down in the cemetery, and me and my female team member drove up to where the reformatory used to stand, pulled the car in, and for the first time ever, I really didn't want to look at my driver's door window. Have you ever had that where you don't want to look at a window because you don't want to see what's looking back at you? And it felt like somebody very, very angry was standing right by my door. I still had my headlights on the car, although the engine was turned off. Looked like a shadow of a person crossed through the beam of the headlights. And then we also had a bang on the boot of our car. Now, this is in the middle of nowhere. You can see for miles if a car comes. So now what you're about to hear, my team have just radioed up from the cemetery going, "Are you getting out of the car anytime soon?" To which I'm laughing with my teammate going to them, yes, I'm getting out in a minute, put my two-way down, and then kind of went, likely am I getting out this car tonight, because that's how bad it felt. And she was feeling it too. So you'll hear us laughing, you'll hear us talking. Fortunately, we were all mic'd up on a investigation. We always had audio running, whatever we were doing. And on playing the audio back, you've got this male guttural voice that comes over the top of us too. Now, the quality is not brilliant because it is a cassette in the old dinosaur days of cassette tapes, not digital. But I don't think you're going to miss it. I'm not going to tell you what it says because obviously we want you to make your mind up. You're not going to miss it.
All right, let's go ahead and play that.
Okay. Yeah, that one was only like 2 seconds long.
Should be longer than 2 seconds.
That's all it came out to be on when I brought it over.
Did you hear the EVP properly, Allison?
Yeah, it's you can hear us talking. When I sent it over, it should have been a longer. Let me just have a look in your drive. Then.
But the EVP did come through. That was the EVP that we
I didn't
played.
hear anything.
Oh, you didn't hear anything? I heard.
I've got it on.
What did you chatters hear? Brian, what did you hear?
I heard something, but I couldn't make it out. I
Not
was it was too quick for me.
okay. That's not the one that you should be playing. You'll know it. This one definitely is a guttural male voice. You can hear us talking either side of it. So
You want me to
that
try
wouldn't.
the
Let me
other one real
unmute
quick?
it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I may have
Unmute
put it
and
back to
then
front for you. Try the other one.
Okay.
All right. Second one, which is quick.
Hmm.
First one should be a longer section. Did you hear it when I sent it over?
Yeah, I actually heard it when you sent it over. But when I brought it into OBS, it only
It's only playing a couple of seconds.
yeah.
Might not even be the. I can't hear it from my. Gremlins.
It's not the first
It's good. Probably be a good 5-10 seconds. The first one.
well, I did hear a male voice. It sounded like a male voice saying something not very nice, but that I don't know. Are you trying to?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could reload it on there and everything, if it'll be longer.
The second one was a follow up to the first one, a couple of weeks later, and it is a quick one, and it's just somebody settling down. You can hear the voice recorder going down as they sit down, and then you get that little whisper of a word. But the word is actually very relevant to the one we got 2 weeks earlier.
Okay.
So
Well,
and it is a
hopefully.
Okay, I'm going to try the first one again real quick.
I wonder why. That's weird. I will be, but I haven't put these up from time. We just haven't had time in the last 10, 16 years. I've got so much footage to go through, and these are some of them. So you were given them before even I've. Actually, no, they are. That one is up on our research site, Paranormal Field Investigators. So if they go there, they can actually hear it in full there.
Okay.
So, and I will be transferring them over to Haunted Horizons. I'm getting more creative time now, so these will be going up on YouTube eventually.
Yay! So okay, well then just tell us what is the man saying?
All right, so what we've got is when I listened back to it, over the top of us was a really male guttural voice. You can hear me and Amy talking, but then you've got this third voice, the not demonic, I'm not into the demonic side, but very angry, very guttural, just going,
Yeah.
what sounds, I thought it said cynicists, but there's no such,
Oh.
but there's no such word. So when I was doing lectures, I would let people listen to it and write down what they thought they were hearing rather than me tell them in the early days. And a lot of people were saying sinners, but with the S all distorted at the end.
Mm.
So that's kind of what they were hearing. The second one, 2 weeks later, we threw a girl out as bait. as you do with a voice recorder. And she's just sitting down. And if you listen very hard at that whispered word, it sounds like sinner. Sounds like a continuation of that sinner. So he was abusive to the girls, but there you go.
Okay, so I think it did come through the first time, Brian, because I told Allison, I thought I heard something that wasn't so nice. Now I didn't hear sinners, but I heard
It sounds like cynicists, and it's got that.
I thought I heard this is bullshit or something like that. So I mean, I was hearing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Probably the ghost going, "Oh my god, what is it? What is it with these living people?"
Why do they keep bugging me? This is
Don't you-
bullshit.
don't you
Yeah,
have a-
that's what I thought. So I was picking up on the S's, obviously. So
you must
I
have got the
think,
very end of it. Yeah.
yeah. So at least the EVP did come through because I unmuted the YouTube and I heard it. So, and it actually played like
It's a
Good
bigger
time.
clip.
so.
It's a bigger clip. When you hear it incomplete, it's a lot more impressive.
So Brian, you did try to play the second one too,
Yeah.
and it because I didn't hear the second one. I just heard the first one.
Okay. Let me go back to the second
It's a
one.
very quick one.
Well, I mean,
You'll hear the click of the voice recorder going down, and then you'll hear a whisper.
Can you just confirm there is somebody there who will try and say my name?
I'll see if I can find it on Adelaide Paranormal Field Investigators, and I'll put a link in the chat room to that.
awesome.
If I can remember what my website is. It's been a long time. Paranormal Field Investigators. Let's see if I
Right.
can find it.
I'm muted. Are you still playing the EVP? Are we done?
We're done.
Okay. I did hear that. I heard like a male voice saying something. I couldn't make out, but it kind of sounded like it started with an S. But I don't know. Did you chatters hear it?
What is this building that we're looking at now?
Let me go back to you. All right, just looking for the link for that thing for them.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Let me just. Where are you? Thank you.
Lisa says she heard a make two.
Yeah, it's hard if you haven't got the full thing. As I say, it's a longer clip, unfortunately. If it's not playing the full thing, I have not got anything on my screen for you except blank.
Refresh. You might have to refresh. YouTube
Okay.
does that sometimes, so you have to refresh.
Whoa, Margam. Yes, Margam Castle. That's in Wales.
That is so freaking amazing.
How I pay myself back from the hours and hours of work I do during the work year is I'll take my lead guide and best friend, Caggle, and we'll go and hire places just for the two of us around England and America. So one of those places was Margam Castle. So this is Margam Castle. So we hired that for the night just for the two of us.
Wow.
and one of my favorite places. I love that place.
It looks like something in the movies, like Dracula's castle. Honestly, like it's just
Be- Beautiful, beautiful architecture. So it's down in the southern parts of Wales in the UK. And yeah, that was an interesting one. Actually, that was one that really had me on edge in there. So
I could see
there was
why.
one point we were in a room at the top and we were literally at the very back of it. We had a long way to get out. There's just two of us. It's pitch black. We could hear circling us the sound. Have you ever heard those long dresses, crimpline type dresses? And we could hear this circling us in the room. There's only us two in the building. The security had let us in. Security was outside. And we could hear it circling us. And we could hear heavy male breathing in there with us as well. So, and a stone. You know how you talked about rocks being thrown? We had, that was the one place I've had a rock thrown in there as well. And that's hard to be sitting just two girls in there on your own in the dark, the very, very top of that building in one of the back rooms.
Wow.
There. And you hold your ground, but I can't say it doesn't make you uneasy. And it's
I know the feeling because Lisa and I actually were alone on the second floor of the Goldfield Hotel. I don't know if you're familiar with the Goldfield Hotel. It's where Ghost Adventures went on their first episode, their first documentary, like way back in like 2006 or whatever. It's a very, very popular place here in Nevada. A lot of psychics have said it's like a doorway to hell and this crazy stuff. And Lisa and I were alone on the second floor in one of the rooms, and our lights stopped working. So we were literally in the dark. Like our camera light and our flashlight was not working, and she saw a shadow in the hallway, and then we heard scuffling next to us in the room, and I literally like almost died. I was so almost poo-pooed in my pants.
And you do, I mean, yeah. Anybody who says that they don't, you know, how would they say, oh, well, you do this for a living, why would you get scared? Anybody who says at some point you're in these places and you don't know what you're dealing with, and it's a natural age-old fear in all of us, anybody who says they don't at any time in their life doing this would be lying, basically, because it's going to get the better of all of us at some point. It's innate. It's our protection from when we used to be around the campfires and the predators used to be in the dark. We're not nocturnal. And it's that innate protection. So you're going to feel, it's how you deal with it. It's how you deal with that fear, which is different. You hold your ground. You learn techniques to keep yourself breathing and stopping the adrenaline from taking over and getting the better of you. So that's kind of how we look at it.
I told Lisa, I was like, we need to call in our spirit guides right now. This would be the moment to do that. That was how I held my ground.
Well, being in the military, that goes true with basically anything. I dealt with a lot of PJs, combat controllers, where they would jump out of airplanes. And I was always told by them that if you didn't have that fear about the jump, you shouldn't jump.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna miss something. That fear is what keeps you on edge, on sharp point.
Yeah.
It can keep you alive. Yeah,
yep.
It keeps you alive.
Yeah.
So we all get frightened. We all have that fear. It's part of who we are, and it's just how do you deal with it?
But honestly, Allison, like I don't know if I would go into that castle with just one other person.
It was. Do you know it was hard, but it was exhilarating.
Yeah, there's that.
These places are exhilarating to be standing there on your own in these massive places that you've seen on the shows and stuff like that, and then you're there, just the two of you, and it is a massive opportunity, and it's just very exciting. Yeah, scary but exciting.
Well, I think that's a lot of the reason too why we do what we do is because we enjoy that feeling. It's kind of like when you're waiting in line to go on a roller coaster, you know,
Yeah.
that feeling. And you know, I get it because the or the Goldfield Hotel, like that has been on my bucket list since I was like a teenager, and finally going in there, and I just when you see it on TV all the time, and we were finally there, it was like a dream come true, and it was very exhilarating and very scary. But anyways, we should probably get to more stuff.
Yes.
If it plays.
Okay. Next one is it's called Gel Voice.
Right. I think it's the first one, which is a lot longer one, so hopefully it all plays. It's the very first voice that you listen to. There's two voices on there. It was captured by my then teammate Jeff Forsh, who was a member of PFI on a PFI investigation. And it's the first one. Now, notice the first voice doesn't have an echo. The second voice, which is Jeff's, does have an echo. So, because we're in a big building, it was on a video camera, not on audio. So again, it's I had to clean the stuff out the background because it's so crackly. But yeah, I won't say what it says, but
Okay.
hopefully it plays.
Positive AM. Here we go. Positive AM. Positive AM. Positive AM. Positive AM. Positive AM.
There's no right or wrong answer. 100.
But you know what? It's freaking amazing.
I have a guess.
Okay, well, let's see what our chatters think. Did you guys hear words?
Oh yeah, I heard words, but I couldn't make them out. I was listening. I had my volume turned all the way up, and you spoke. I jumped out of my seat.
That kind of gave me chills, honestly.
It did. It really did, because it was. You could definitely hear multiple syllables.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's two words on that. I will say there was only Jeff there and Megan, who's a female, who is our photographer on site. It was, like he said, it was 1:30 or whatever it was in the morning at the Adelaide jail. So there's nobody else in the building at that point. And yeah, we don't know until we look back on the video and suddenly realise we have this second voice on there. So we kind of nutted it down to what we think it is, but I'll just wait until see what other people. Again,
Well-
it's another one that I used to put in my lectures for people to write down what they were hearing before, so we could get a good, I guess, opinion, a good overview of what people are hearing on that. So
Well, I know that Lisa and Jared heard something that's very loud and clear, but they haven't said anything about like what it's saying.
Yeah. There's no right and wrong. You know, with EVP, there is no right or wrong answer. It's what we hear, I guess. Our brains interpret what we're hearing.
I'll let some of the chatters put theirs first before what I think it said, what I think I heard.
Does anybody think that they heard certain phrase or whatever? Anybody? Lisa says not sure what was said. My headphones are broke, but definitely heard a male. Jared says, can we hear it one more time?
I'll put it on loop. So
it's the very first voice, the 2 words.
Positive I am. Positive I am. Positive I am.
Really good playing it.
yeah, I can transfer out of it.
I think I know. I'll wait until. Jared, what do you think? Oh, I'm excited to say what I think it says.
I'm excited to
This
say what
is one of the.
Well, Jared says can't translate, but definitely a voice. So I can say it now. Can I say it?
Sure, go for it.
I hear your name, Allison.
Do you?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Oh, okay.
I do.
What about
That's
Brian?
what
I'm going to tell you what I think it says in a minute.
Yeah.
But from my perspective of listening, no guesses from Brian.
No, actually, after I listened to it again, it wasn't what I thought it was.
Yeah. All right.
And this is on Susie's guess, the picture.
Yep. I haven't heard my name through it, but what we were hearing when we were listening back to it is the first word being sergeant. There's definitely an S in there, and then we think the last word is Murphy. There's a F in that second word. So
is that a legit person?
no idea. We haven't even got any record of a guard dying in there at all. Yet a guard has been seen numerous times, and I've had it walk past me loudly, which blew my mind. Now that's another story altogether. We don't know why there seems to be a guard there, because no guard died on site. One was murdered out in the Torrens River, but he's not the right time period. And another one did kill himself at home, but we don't know. Murphy was a very popular name because we had a large Irish contingency coming out, obviously. during the potato famine, and so a lot of them came out to Australia. So Murphy would be a common name. So, but that's what we were hearing. It's no, as we keep saying, there's no right or wrong, because our brains will hear what it in different ways, I guess.
And you know what? That's the frustrating thing, because it's like you really want to know what the spirit is saying, and it just,
And that's
frustrating.
the argument I hear all the time is why, they mock because they say, well, why every EVP you can't really work out what it's saying. But I've run an experiment that if I say some words and you don't know in what context it is, and you just hear a word, sometimes people can't understand that either. It's weird how we hear and how we interpret. So without the context of the word, sometimes we don't understand what the word is, even though it's coming from us. So I ran a big experiment on that a few years ago.
Awesome.
Okay. If it's me saying a word, just one word, out of the blue, and then I play it over and over again to you, can you tell me what that word says? And a lot of people couldn't, because they can't hear the follow-up or the after of what context I'm talking in. So
that's a fascinating experiment, actually. And but I don't know, and then maybe the reason why I'm hearing your name is because I'm talking with you right now. So my brain's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Whereas we were expecting, I guess, in the early days, because we'd heard about the guard, and we were expecting, obviously, to have contact with the guard there. So again, and I keep saying to people, there is no right or wrong answer to what you're hearing, because I don't know. We can't be sure what it is.
All right, what's next?
I think this was kind of self-explanatory, so I'm not going to say the name of it.
Okay.
Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my big stand. Because everybody's using them in America now, and my
Okay.
That's a harder one to hear, because it's right when I'm talking.
I couldn't hear that one. I mean, I hear something, but
yeah, it's right when I'm talking, and it comes over. It kind of comes over my voice, so it's not as direct as the other one, whereby you've got the voice and then Jeff talking. This one, it kind of comes right over. So
don't you hate when that happens? Don't you hate that though? It happens all the time.
They try and interrupt. I know, very rude of them.
I know. Well, Chatters, did you hear anything? And if so, what did you hear? Right?
Lisa got it right. Lisa got it right.
What'd she say? It is get out or right now. So it's get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Yeah.
Why can't I hear that? I think my ears are kind of like plugged up.
I think you got a cold and everything, and your ears are stopped up. Because you're telling me that you've got a sinus infection.
Well, I think I might.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and move to the next one?
Yes.
You want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times. You can actually talk, and you want to talk to us, even if it's a get out, which we've had lots of times.
Okay.
I heard that. I muted YouTube. Are we still playing it? Are we done?
We're done.
Okay. What'd you guys hear? I heard that. Lisa says that she heard no.
I can go either way on that one. Either a positive or a negative.
Anybody else? I heard, I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I heard get out.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
But it's really fast. You know, sometimes
It's very
words
fast.
really fast. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I heard. Get out.
And we don't like to mess with them too much. It's like a lot of people stick them to voice stuff and change and the only thing I like to do is pull the volume up, because I think if we're not hearing stuff anyway, then I don't want to change it too much, if you like. So I tend to just stick with the ones and just pull volume up if I have to.
Yeah, I'm the same way when I'm analyzing them and stuff, like the same exact way. So yeah, that one was pretty good.
Okay. This one is dealing with
We seem to get
the gel
seem
again.
to get told to get out.
Oh, that was just a picture. Okay, I'm not going to do that one. So we're going to go to video. So video 1. And take the picture off and
At the end of our tours, we do a little bit of a lockdown. We do a little bit of a lockdown, so you get the opportunity to sit in cells for about 5 minutes at the end of a ghost tour. And I had a family who came, mother, husband and son. Now, the husband and son, they didn't really want to be here. They'd been mucking around the hole. Hello. I'm not sure what that one was, because that door's wide open. Sorry, I got distracted from that story. Okay, that's in 3 different directions. We had a bang from in there, we had a bang from in there, and the other bang was from down here. Just when I have to go and do a tour, guys. It's always the way, isn't it? Are you here tonight, sir? If you're here tonight, I'm going to be bringing a tour through. Yeah, it was 3 times, Robert. Have you lost me, Debbie? Is everybody getting me or not? So if that's you, can you slam another door? Just to let me know. Oh, no, that's ridiculous. Thank you. Oh, that was right on asking. And no, Michael is outside doing the guests because they're turning up, so there is absolutely nobody else in here. Yeah.
That was absolutely amazing.
You can see how taken aback I was, because that was not about having anything happen. If you go on to my Haunted Horizons page, I'd taken people, I was unlocking the jail ready for the tour, and I thought I'll take people around and give them a few anecdotes as I go around unlocking everywhere. And I'd just gone in to unlock the new building. So I was just telling them the story of the father and son that had an incident within that cell when that all went off. And do you know, for the rest of it, everybody's going, oh, we should have been on the tour tonight. I took the tour back through and absolutely nothing.
Oh my
Not
god.
one bag, no. Which is more intriguing. Yes, I wished it had for the tour, because that would have been better, but it's more intriguing for me because if it was just something, it was a still night anyway, there was no wind that night, but if it was just a natural thing, it should have banged on and on a little bit more than what it did. And that one was very well timed. I'm not saying it's a ghost, but it was a very well timed bang on the one when I asked it to. So
Yeah,
didn't do it
you
again after that.
asked it to do it again, and it
Yeah.
did it on command. Did you see my face when I was oh?
You should have heard my voice. It was like, that is ridiculous. It's like, that's a skeptic.
You were like, that's ridiculous.
The rational one says that is ridiculous, you know. So yeah.
I just loved your reaction when it happened. You're like, really? Did that just happen?
Yeah. Like, they're interrupting again. Telling a good story and they interrupt.
And it was so loud.
Yeah, it echoed through there too.
I would have been scared.
Okay, so let's go to video 2.
No, I think that's the ghost box.
Can you say Spilios, please?
It's unmistakable.
Thank you. Wow. Wow.
And let me see if I can play it again.
Can you say Spilios, please?
Actually, I just started it.
Okay, no, I'll stay quiet then.
I can transition out of it. Okay.
Spilios, who's my teammate, he has probably one of the rarest Greek names in Australia. All right, Spirios is quite common, but Spilios is not. So the chances of that name coming through the radio at that point when you're asking for that name, it kind of becomes a lot more interesting for me for that reason. Because it is, if it came out with Alison, you go, well, Alison's a common name. But Spilios is so much of a different name. You don't get a lot of them.
Okay, I'll go back into it so everybody can listen to it again.
It's unmistakable.
Thank you. Wow. Wow. say Spilios, please?
That was unmistakable.
Thank you. Wow. Wow. Can you say Spilios, please?
That was unmistakable.
Thank you. Wow. Wow.
Oh, that was amazing.
Possibly radio.
No.
But that's the sort of stuff I want to hear, though. I don't want to hear the
Mhm.
yeses, nos, and the fluff. Although I have put up videos recently with a lot of ghost box stuff in it. I see that as fluff. If you like, what I'm really after is that. And I have got other examples of that, and that's the ones that make me stand back and go, "How? How can that happen?" It's just I don't know. I'm not going to say it isn't radio. Could have just been one of those 1,000,000 to 1 coincidences. We were asking for a rare name, and a rare name came out. But that's what I want to hear. It's like,
Brian, as a
not
skeptic.
that did it say? Did that say? I think it just said something. That's the one I want to hear.
Yeah. That would actually lead me to start believing, yeah, that they can do that. I would have to come up with kind of a code word or a name in my head and everything, and see if they could pick it out.
Yeah. I think to dismiss everything. I know we shouldn't have it happen. This is, because we do run all this equipment a lot, and a lot of people say don't use the equipment, blah blah blah. And I agree. Most of that equipment we can't say catches a ghost because it's designed for other stuff anyway. But if we just throw it aside, if we throw the ghost box aside, if we throw everything else aside, are we missing something? Because the one thing I have learned, if ghosts exist, and I'm going to say it, hedge my bets, if ghosts exist, then they do seem to be able to manipulate electronics. I've had some weird stuff happen. I've had my father, going back to fathers who are deceased, on his funeral, I came home to find a message on the answer machine where the messages, we listened to all the messages before we left to see what the messages were for the funeral. And we came back, and it was on my sister's message machine. I know there was no messages on there. We came back to find a raspberry. All right. Somebody blowing a raspberry. My father was the only one because he hated answering machines. So every time he rang, and if he got the answering machine, he would blow a raspberry and then put the phone down. So, are we missing something because things shouldn't work? Are we missing stuff by throwing it aside in that way, going, oh, that shouldn't work because it's bullshit? Or do we really put some time and effort into going, okay, well, let's run it a lot, see what we get, but listen for stuff or look for things that are a lot more than coincidence. I'm probably rambling a bit, but I know what I mean. Something like that, something that's more definite, not everything, just something that's definite. Because if you get a few things that are definite, that are harder to explain, then it becomes a little more important than just throwing something aside, I guess. But don't run out there.
By saying that.
But don't run out there. First thing we try and teach people: don't run out there and think everything is a ghost, because it's not. Most of it, as you say, is pretty much random stuff that's natural. But you just get that little bit that you go, can't explain that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Brian. He's like, Maybe I should mess with the SB7
Well-
or 11 now.
Most
or
of the time
whatever.
you'll get rubbish. I will say, most of the time you'll get rubbish. It'll be radio stations. It'll be.
I think the best EVP that I captured from SB7, that's the one I prefer. So
Yeah.
I use it. I usually only maybe mess around with it for like 20 minutes on an investigation. But we were at this abandoned hospital, and I got like loud and clear. This lady said, got cancer. And to me, that was amazing because we were in a hospital. And why would that be radio? Who on radio would say that? I don't know. But that was my best moment. But I tend to only use it for like 20 minutes and then I move on.
It's hard on the ears. So
It is. It is. And then I know that I've still got to analyze it when I get home.
here's
So I've
here's an interesting observation for you. All right, because we have to run this stuff all the time on tours, probably several times a week, several hours a night. It's a shame you haven't got that one. I'll talk about it. Is we were in the jail running the ghost box, and I say quite clearly, "Can you say my name? Can you say Alison?" And what you would have heard is a female voice going, "Yes, Alison," like that, and it kind of echoes, got an echoey feel as a like in the building. Thing is, I didn't hear it at the time. It wasn't until we went back and listened back to it, and this is what I find with the ghost box sessions as well. Sometimes we'll go back, or I'm listening to my guides doing a ghost box session on the tour, and I'm going, "How the hell did you not hear that? It is so crystal clear. How the hell did you not hear that?" Now, whether that was actually an EVP overlaying on the ghost box with the Alison, Alison, I'm not sure. So again, I don't know whether it's something like an EVP that's actually coming out on your recording and not so much coming out the radio. Spilios we heard through the radio though.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me a few times when I've been using the spirit box, where it's like I didn't hear it at the time, and then when I went back and analyzed it, to me it sounded like it was actually an EVP coming over like the spirit box. But I always have to go back and analyze the spirit box sessions and slow them down whenever something comes through and see if I can understand it. And that's hard on hard on my ears. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, as I said, there's no proof that any of this is a ghost or coming through. As I said, the rational side of me goes, it is just, and this is what I tell my tours, this is just a broken radio. All right, you're going to get radio coming through. You're going to get all the stations, the station I'm on and stuff like that. That's all going to come through. What you're listening for is something a little unusual. Yeah. And that's what I'm listening out for. Unusual names. If you've got somebody in the tour that's got an unusual name, I'm listening out for that type of thing. Something that is less likely to happen at the radio station at that point. But, who knows? Who knows? That's why it's fun. And that's why it's, who knows?
Well, I mean, you think about let's call them our forefathers that started doing the paranormal investigation. They did the experiments with silver film, a regular undeveloped film, and they would put it into a sealed envelope or box and everything, and they would get the spirit writing on it. Audio tapes being the fact they're magnetic, and they're manipulated in a way that they would actually have audio, which would be magnetic manipulation of the film. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes going back to the basics, I think is more beneficial than all this newer technology. Because with all your electronics and everything, well, you're just putting more EMF into the atmosphere.
Yeah. As I said, if it was me, and what we used to do as a team would be actually sitting listening. listening and monitoring for hours. You know, it wouldn't be as proactive as what we obviously are on tours and live investigations, because people aren't going to sit, they're not going to pay to come in and just sit and listen for a couple of hours. But I'll quite often go into the jail or Z ward, or if I'm on my own, and I will just sit and I will listen and I will just, run basics. And that's kind of the way I like to investigate. But there you go.
That's me too. That's my favorite.
I'm the exact same way. I
Yeah.
would love to go just sit in a dark room and basically become in tuned with the building. Know what
Yeah.
sounds that the building makes, and listen for those little things that aren't the building.
Yeah. I think that's I just love that. I can do that for hours. So, but
Well, guys, we're at the top of the hour, and I'm wondering if we have any more stuff.
I've got everything already through. Like I said, there's a ton more out on Allison's Facebook page and her websites and everything, to have her back on and discuss more.
All right,
So
guys, let me go ahead and put the links in the chat one more time.
And maybe we can get all three of the ladies that are on the screen right now to come on. They're all in. Well, there's one on video and two in chat.
Well, Kay Galwood, who's coming into chat, she's my teammate that comes around the world with me. So I'll just say hello, Kag. And why aren't you working tonight? She's my lead guide. So.
Awesome. Okay, I'm almost done, guys. And then we need to do some announcements real quick. 1 second. Sorry about my sniffing, guys. Okay, one more link. Oh my gosh, this cold is just.
So you're all coming into spring there.
Coming into summer, yeah.
Coming into summer.
So,
okay.
Yes, so we're heating up now, so we'll get up to about 45 degrees eventually, soon, on the days, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. You'd have to do. We work in centigrade, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we'll be.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. That's all right. Wasn't just into bushfire season soon, so we get the wildfires.
Yeah, California's been on fire here. So.
Well, a lot of Australia is at the moment. So up on the east coast is on fire at the moment. Just lost 100 houses.
Wow. Hasn't it started really soon?
Very early, yes. Extremely early.
Yeah.
So it's a bit worrying.
Sorry, I had to mute for a minute because I was sniffing.
So for all those that use Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius is 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. So you're talking really toasty.
Yeah, we can go for we can have that for a week, a run of up to a week and 10 days sometimes here.
That's unbearable for me.
How's the humidity there?
In South Australia, the humidity, we don't really have that. It's a very dry heat, so which again, what makes everything very combustible here as well.
Right, yeah. With the lower the humidity, I think it takes less than 26% humidity to have forest fires.
Yeah, we're the driest state.
I'm just the opposite. In the summertime here, we get like 95 degrees temperature. Let's say 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But we'll have like 85, 90% humidity.
Yeah.
So you get a really hot, sticky summer.
Yeah. Every time I come over there, I hit the humidity. and I can't cope with humidity. It's just give me dry heat any day. Humidity just takes it out of you. It's if you're not used to it. So yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, we're gonna wrap up now. I do have a few announcements. So our last show of the year is gonna be on 11/22. Um, our show will be taking a break, a holiday break. So we won't be back until I think. Let me check real quick. We won't be back until January 10th. But anyways, our show, Brian, you're typing way too loud. Our last show, 11/22, is with Hazel Evans, owner of Bad Wolf Events and WHPS, West Houston Paranormal Society. She is also a referral from the awesome Bill Tabone. So very excited for that show. I don't really have any team announcements that I can think of right now. What about you, Bri? Anything on your end there in Texas?
No, well, I've been really busy with just buying the house and doing the closing and everything on that, and packing. So I haven't had time to sit and talk to my friends out there in the other paranormal groups. But I would like to wish everyone, if you don't join us for next show, have a wonderful holiday season. And that we look forward to seeing you again, or having you come join our show again after the new year.
And I think I don't know if you want to do this, Bri, but I was thinking about maybe when we're on holiday, we can maybe every other Friday just post some of our shows from this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're not going to be completely like going away, guys. And, I'll try to go live and do trivia stuff and stuff like that. But anyways, some of the upcoming shows that we have for 2020, I'm really excited about because we're going to Ireland and freaking Germany, guys. Like, this is Para Unity, and we've done so many shows with people from Australia and New Zealand and the UK and from here in the States, but I'm really excited to be stepping out into some of these other countries and finding out what their paranormal communities are like, So that's what's coming up for 2020. So don't go away and leave us just because we're taking a holiday break.
and she had my heart all set to go to Ireland and Germany and everything, but unfortunately, we're going to be here. They're going to join us on Skype, so you'll have to join us here also.
Yes. So, anyways, I'm going to put some of our links here in chat really quick. In case you are not part of our Mystery Gang pages or are haunting the Afterlife group page, there's the links. Go follow us, like us, spread the word, share. So that's really it. And I just want to thank you, Allison, so much. You have been fabulous, and you have taught me so much in the last 2 hours. And that's what I love about having this show, is that I learn so much. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'm really glad you had fun.
No, it's good.
And I say go out, take a look at Adelaide Haunted Horizons Ghost Tours. Give them a like, give them a follow. Go out and look at buying Allison's book. I can't wait to read it myself. And I can't wait to see if there's something else on the horizons. Another book, maybe?
I've just had a friend who passed away, and the last thing he said was, I needed to write this second book, and I have to honor that. So yeah, I will be. So
Well,
definitely.
I'm sorry about your friend, but I'm very excited for another book. So you'll have to send that to me when it's
I will do.
published. But yeah, I'm excited
Will
to
do.
read your book too, and thank you so much for sending it off to me. I really appreciate that. You're a sweetheart.
That's all right.
And
Pretty
Well,
I,
flattered.
yeah, and thank you to all of our chatters. Thank you for all the ones that are in Australia, that's in Tasmania, that's in the chat room. We do the show because we love to get people out there and share ideas with the like-minded people. And what better way to do it is this way. And we all learn something, and we take something from each and every show, and eventually we'll have a really great paranormal community going.
yes. Para Unity, guys, connecting those highways of Para Unity all across the world. And that's why I'm so excited about Ireland and Germany and who else, like, who knows what else we have in store for you for next year. So, anyways, don't forget 11/22, Hazel Evans. So, with saying that, that's a wrap. I want to tell everyone light, love, and huge hugs. Peace.